Okay, can you hear me? Welcome, Marla. Hopefully you can hear me. I actually was trying to do the lecture outside today because it's so sunny and warm, but it seems like it's a little bit too loud out there. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Just a little FYI, I actually have the flu. I came down with it last night. I have fever and chills and the whole throat thing going on. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle getting through this lecture, so just kind of bear with me. I know my voice sounds really weird because my throat's so swollen, but I just took some ibuprofen. Hopefully that'll be better and we can get through this lecture. Yeah, it just hit me last night, full force, so it's one of those things. Well, welcome to week 2 live session, session 2. I might be talking a little lighter and sound a little weird, but kind of bear with me here. So as we go forward, welcome Lily. I was just telling Marla I'm actually, I have the flu today, so I sound a little odd. I don't know if we'll see kind of how I get through this. I'm not sure if I'll be talking for 2 hours. I have like zero energy right now, so I'm trying to get some vitamin B in my system here. Okay, so just some reminders here. Just make sure you guys are posting your discussions before midnight tonight. It's the deadline for your initial discussion post. Hello, Lily. And then responding to your fellow peers. Make sure you get that done. We went over yesterday your assignment 2, so if you missed that, definitely listen to the recording provided in the live sessions area. We're going to be going over your assessment 2 today. I'll be doing a demo. And if you guys want, to share anything that you've been working on, if you have any questions, any help, we'll kind of open it up at the end of the session. Like I said, I'm going to try and get through this session. I'm a little low energy here, so just bear with me. So we talked about yesterday, you guys just make sure that you're choosing the option for your assignment 2. And you're taking that time to do what is required for one of those options. And don't forget your written part of that as well. So your documentation. And if you need more clarification and you didn't see the live lecture yesterday, it would definitely save you some time to listen to that recording. So we talked about photo manipulation and image compositing yesterday. And we talked about how compositing and image manipulation is done so either through Lightroom or Photoshop, typically through Photoshop. We looked at some of the tools that you would use for that. And then also, I kind of told you to kind of hold off a little bit because I was going to do the demo for assessment 2 for the image compositing part. But we talked a little bit about what it is. We showed some examples here. So this is what you're going to be doing for your assessment. You're going to be compositing and having photo manipulation on your photos that are provided. So you're going to be, I think it's kind of fun. I think it's definitely a fun exercise. You're going to be using Lightroom as well as Photoshop for this. And don't forget in your readings, there's some really great information in there, and also your videos for this week that show you the differences between Lightroom and Photoshop. All of this is review. That's kind of why I'm not reading over this right now, because we did kind of read word for word yesterday for all of these tools and information that I'm showing you on these slides. So we talked about the spot healing brush tool, what it does. We looked at it yesterday, in action in the demo that I showed. We looked at image adjustments too. So we went over some of the adjustment layers that you can place on your image without taking away from the original image, but adjusting in the brightness and contrast, exposure, making it black and white in a way that you're not making it, more neutral, and a true black and white photo. And then we also looked at the curves option for image adjustments. And then we explored the clone stamp tool and how you would use that. So play around with these tools if you haven't done so yet. We also explored how to size your image appropriately for assignment 2 and where to look and kind of what all these terms mean here. All right. Do you have any questions before I get started? Does anybody have any questions? There's just kind of a little review from yesterday. None? Okay. All right, let me go into Canvas here and check out your assessment. Did you guys start this yet? Has anyone started that yet? Not yet? Okay. Definitely read through the background. It's talking about, you know, when you're making those adjustments and utilizing the software to make adjustments to a photograph, you know, Lightroom and Photoshop. So we're going to be kind of doing that, utilizing both programs for this assessment. All right. All right, so this week you will work on 3 images and adjust them per the instructions. There's a lot of instructions, but I think you guys, it's once you read through it, it's not as overwhelming as it looks. You will find all of the images you need to do in this assessment in the images folder below. So right here, your image folder. So download that. For image number 1, so this is the assessment instructions. So image number 1, compositing in Photoshop. This is kind of what you're going to be doing. In the image folder found below, you will find a folder called image 1 with 7 images inside. Choose any 2 of the images and combine them in any way you wish to create a new composition using Photoshop. When you're done, save the image as image1.jpg. So I went ahead and downloaded this, and we're going to just go from there. We're going to do this first step together, and then we'll go to the image 2 and image 3. So, oh, I thought I had Photoshop open. I just had Lightroom open. Sorry. Okay, give me 1 second. It shouldn't take too long here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to open up the image folder that I downloaded. So definitely do that. Go to your image 1 folder. And let me show you that folder here so you can see what I'm doing. Oops. I just downloaded it to my, where am I at here? Now you can't see me. Hold on, guys. I just downloaded it to my desktop. So it's called Week 2 Assessment Images. And you'll go to Week 1. And here are the 7 images that you have to choose from. You have 2 in this to choose from. So pick 2. You know, you might want to look at this as, okay, this is going to be my background, and that's going to be my foreground. You know, think about that. It's kind of interesting images there. Okay. So for this, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to try opening up this one. But you pick the ones that you want to compose together. Okay, let me open up Photoshop here. Is it opening? Is it opening? Hold on, guys. Something weird's going on here. Let me open up my PowerPoint. Let me quit out of Photoshop for some reason. Having some weird things going on here. What in the world? Okay. One of those days, I guess, right? Okay, let me get this slide back together. Sorry, guys. Just be patient with me here. I'm on slow motion here. All right. Close out of here. There we go. Okay. I figure out what's going on with my Photoshop here. It's not responding to opening up my file. Computer has the flu. I think so. He's the operator. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. Something weird happened. I think sometimes when I go back and forth with sharing my screen, it does something funky sometimes too. The programs kind of freeze up a little bit. I think that's what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna put the layers in here. So I picked this background as my background. I'm gonna unlock it, so just double click on it. And then I'm gonna go File, Open. Hopefully you guys see what I'm, can you see my Photoshop image here? Okay, good. So make sure I was sharing the screen right appropriately. Okay, then I'm gonna choose the dog image. And I'm just gonna do File, Open. Okay, so I have this tab with my background, and then this tab with my foreground, which I'm gonna place into my background. So, and this is easy when you have a white background like this, because all you really have to do, excuse me, my throat is swollen, is make a selection. And it's really easy when you have a white background, because all you need to do is choose the magic wand tool. Notice your presets up here. Your tolerance, the lower your tolerance, so mine's set at 20. Once you click on a certain pixel, it's going to, the lower the tolerance, it's going to grab the closest match to that selection that you did with your magic wand tool. So it's going to be a little pickier when it's a lower tolerance. When it's a higher tolerance, it's going to choose not only that image or the pixel information that you clicked on, but maybe closest to that hue as well. So let me show you what I mean. So if I click right on this, let me unlock this here first. Right on this white part, it's choosing all of the same pixel information based on that selection. So if I were to hit this Edit in Quick Mask mode, you'll notice that everything in red is what isn't selected. So I pretty much got a lot of the information that I needed to. If I were to make this a higher tolerance, say if I go up to 80, watch what happens. And you might not see it. Let me zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. But when I go to the mask part, you'll notice that certain parts of the body of some of the animals that are a little lighter in hue are selected. And we don't want that. We want to get as close as to the edge as possible. And that's what's nice about having a white background. So you can lower your tolerance. I'm going to lower this back down to 20. I'm going to select that white and see how it kind of goes along the edge a little bit better there. So when I click on the edit mask, you can see it's really getting right to the edge there. Yeah, it's so cute. All right, as long as you double click on the background, I know, right? It goes photoshopped in there. I think this is a composite image of all the dogs together. Could be. That's how they do it. So once I select that background, uh-oh, your dog's pregnant. You have lots of doggy little puppies. Uh-oh, well, I have to give her a pregnancy test. Do they have that for dogs? Oh my gosh, it's been a day. All right, so once I select that, I can, piano stick. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You make me laugh. All right, so once you have that selected, you can hit the delete key on your keyboard. And when you do that, you get rid of that background. And so now all I need to do is I'm going to deselect this. And I'm just going to pull this image right over top of this image and let go. So I'm dragging and dropping. Okay. Aw. I guess that was a surprise then. Now I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to go up to Edit, Transform, and Scale, and hold the Shift key down so I don't distort the image. Because if I don't hold that Shift key down, watch what happens. It becomes distorted. So holding that Shift key down, make it proportionate, and then I'm going to apply it. All right. So I guess at this point you can try to make it look like it's part of the image, what you might want to do. Because right now I can tell that these dogs are not truly in this image because the background image is very almost desaturated. Aw. Sleeps a lot, eats a lot, tummy is hard. I do that and I'm not pregnant. Well, you'll have to keep us posted. So there's a way around this. You can either make the background match the foreground or vice versa. So you can desaturate the color of the dogs to make them look like they, better blend in with their surroundings. I do see some things going on here. You might want to zoom in. I see a little white area here that I can get rid of with the Magic Wand tool. So holding down the shift key, you can get more of the pixel information that you might not have the first selection. I'm just hitting the delete key once I'm selecting that. You can also use the pen tool to do this, but the pen tool is a little bit of a tricky tool. It's a great tool once you know how to use it, but it can be very frustrating if you're starting to learn it. And that's just making a selection using, the pen tool where it's a little bit more accurate. You're grabbing more specific pixel information. As long as you're good with the pen tool. If you're not, then this might be your better option. I'm just doing this because the background was white, it's just easier to select the white areas. And we can fix this too. There's certain areas in here that need to be fixed. Okay, so let me show you two options here. So in the background, I can make an adjustment layer. So I'm going to choose the background. I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. And what's nice about these, this doesn't take away from the original picture. So it's non-destructive adjustments that you're making. You can always delete them. You can always edit them. They go kind of like a layer above your image, so it's not really affecting the original image. So that's the good thing about them. Okay, so what I want to do is the color balance for this adjustment layer. And once I get that panel up, this is where you can choose which tone that you want to adjust. So right now it's set to default mid-tone. So anything mid-tone wise, and the neutral tones will be affected. So if I were to pull this to the right, let's go real extreme. So you can see, where's my preview here? Why does that not look like it's doing what I want it to do here? It's really weird. Let's go to highlights. Okay, hold on, something weird's happening here. Trash. Okay, something weird is, I must have chose something really weird. Okay, layer, new adjustment layer, color balance. Everything looks good here. Color. Okay. Okay, that's really weird. I don't know why I did that. So now it's changing. So you can see it was black before. I wonder if something happened there. But you can see the tones changing. I'm going to go real extreme here, the mid-tones part. Now, if you just wanted to affect the highlights, then you would choose highlights. And you could do all of them. You can kind of do a little bit of all of them. But I would play around with this, see kind of if this looks better, tonal wise with the foreground image. Kind of play around with it, see what you come up with. So you can see how it's a little bit more extreme, I think. You can tone down the opacity so it's not so extreme. I just turned it down about 55%. You can see it's warm, but it's not as extreme as it was. So if you don't want to go, if you're noticing that, yeah, that looks kind of weird, then you can dial down the opacity as well. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, if you just wanted to affect like the dogs, you wanted to desaturate them to make them match the background, do the same thing, only you're gonna place a layer, adjustment layer on the dogs, and you're gonna take away the saturation. So hue and saturation could be one way to do it. Just dragging this down a little bit. Probably about right there. Would be an option too. So you kind of have to decide, does it look better this way or does it look better this way? I kind of like it more warm. I kind of like it this way. But you know, it matches the surroundings. It's not like you notice that, you know, that slapped right onto that image. Another thing that you can do to make it look like it's part of the image is add a drop shadow. So I would add a drop shadow to the actual dog. So I would select the dogs and go up to layer and go to layer style and drop shadow. When you have this panel come up, make sure the preview is selected, the drop shadow preset selected here, and then everything related to the drop shadow presets are right here. So you can kind of play around with it. And pull this aside. You can kind of see your changes as you go. So you can see the distance kind of going out further. You can change the angle. So if you kind of see that the lighting's coming from like above, you might want to change the angle of the shadow to below. You can play with how much the shadow spreads out. I'm sure you guys have played around with this before. The only bad thing about this is if you're cutting out an image like I did, you might notice some white areas, especially if you have a very organic image such as hair that you're dealing with. So now I can really see, if I kind of look at this dog, the Cocker Spaniel especially, I can see that white cutout almost. There's some ways that you can deal with this. You can actually put an inner drop shadow. Sometimes that works where you're kind of pulling that out. And it's, you don't want it to be too extreme. You can hit the preview button just to see what it looks like. The blend modes, you can play around with that. Overlays, you know, it's a little bit like matching your background with the blend mode. You can go back to your actual drop shadow and just play around with the angles then if that's not working. I would definitely do, you know, if you see the light source where it's coming from, you want to make sure the shadow is correct. So in this case, I would have the shadow probably in front of them. I think I had it right before. Kind of looks like it's, whoop. There we go, something like that. Then if I click OK, and if I still see that white shadow, I can zoom in on, say, that animal that I need to fix. And you can fix it, this is the tricky part, but you can actually go back and fix it by taking your paintbrush tool and masking it out. Okay, it's this side, okay. So I'm just gonna throw a mask on there. I just threw a little mask. And I'm going to use my paint tool, oops, my paintbrush tool thing. And I'm going to just, and this is kind of the tricky part, just try to get the edges out a little bit so it's not as noticeable. Oops. Hold on one second. Layer mask on here. Why is this painted on here? Hold on one second. You could use the magic wand tool. It's just nice to be able to I guess this is working. It's just the shadow that's coming through. Hold on, let me, yeah, it is working. So I'm just, you know, using that. What's nice about a mask is you can make it look more realistic by just kind of painting over certain areas, especially like this edge part with hair. If you use your magic wand tool, you might not be able to select all the areas here. So I would just get it to being where you can't see the lines. This is tricky. What's nice about a mask is you can always go back and like change it. You're not taking away from the actual image. You can always revise your mask or delete it if you don't want it. Oops. It looks somewhat natural here. Oop. Doesn't look good. I'm gonna do this. And then when I zoom out, you'll kind of see what I did here. Hopefully it looks good. We'll see. It's just tough when you have hair or leaves or anything like that. A little bit tricky. But you see what I'm getting at there. So it would be something that you'd have to really like zoom in on. You could use the magic wand tool, but look what happens when you do that. It's really hard to get all of that. Sometimes it may look a little worse. So, you know, just kind of playing around with that. If you think you can make it look good with the magic wand tool, then try it. So anyway, that's something that you'll want to think about. You know, you want to make sure it looks like it's a part of the image and not like it's slapped in there very quickly from another image source. You want to make it look like it's actually part of that image. It was shot together as much as you can. So by doing stuff like that, your drop shadows, getting the edges right will make it look more realistic. All right, so like say we're done with this, everything looks great. You're gonna save it as a JPEG. I forget, it was like image 1 JPEG. Yeah, image 1 JPEG. Save it as a JPEG and put it to my desktop. So that would be your first step. All right, let's take a look at your image 2. So we just finished this one. Any questions about that before I go on? Okay. Okay, presets in Lightroom. So image number 2, in the image folder, you will find a folder called image 2. Choose one of the images and apply a single Lightroom preset to the image. For instance, aged photo, antique light, sepia, save the image as image2.jpg. So you'll want to download that folder. I already did, so I have those images to look at. I open up Lightroom. And my only suggestion, if you want to use what's not already provided in Lightroom, you might want to go and get like a free preset. And it's very easy to find. You just Google free Lightroom presets and you can find them anywhere and download them if they're free, obviously. So this one I actually downloaded and you can import it into Lightroom. This one's called Moody. And Moody, you download right to your computer, just hit download. I think they ask for your email address and your name and stuff like that. But other than that, it's downloaded to your computer and then you place it anywhere within your computer, your hard drive or your student folder. Okay, and then you go into Lightroom. Okay. So you guys can see this. What you'll want to do is it goes automatically to library. Just choose develop. Open your image up. If it's not already imported, you'll want to import it. Import photos. Import your photo. This is one of the ones that were in that folder. And once you hit develop, you'll notice presets already in here. So these are the default presets given. And then I imported the Moody Tones 3. And how I did that was after I downloaded that preset, I just double clicked on the preset in the folder that I downloaded. And it asked me what program I wanted to open it up in. And I said Lightroom, and then it automatically imported it. So that's how you do it. It's very easy. So when you see in the presets, once you do that, you'll see, you should see the preset in there if you did it the way that I did. What's nice about this is the image up here serves as kind of like before you decide to commit on any of these, you can see like a preview. So here's Moody Tone. So if you wanted to do that one, go ahead and click on it, and it changes. It's like an action where it's actually going through the steps to make this filter happen to this image. So you could do your own imported preset to it, or you can use the ones provided in here. So here's like the black and white that they have in here. You can click down here to actually go through all the options. Okay. Do undo. There's Lightroom filter presets, Lightroom black and white presets. Lightroom black and white tone presets. I have some like tone, sepia tone, Lightroom color presets, aged photo, bleach, golden tone. There's some really cool stuff in here. So choose the one that you think looks the best for your subject, or what kind of what you want to visually show. I'm going to choose Moody because I like that one, because I imported that specifically for that. It's kind of moody, sets the mood of the woman with the umbrella. Yep, so you just need to add one of those. And then you're going to save it out as a JPEG. So let's go back to your, yep, image to JPEG. So file, export. Oops, sorry. Email photo, I don't want to do that. Export with preset. Burn full-size PDFs, export email. Let's try that one. Okay, this is from disk burning. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to export with preset. You can do a new filter or a new folder. Page 2. Oops. Let me find that image here. Did I save it to? Let me hold on. There it is. Okay, so then let me show you my desktop so you can see. So I just exported out with into a folder. So here's my image here. So you will just name this image 2. So this would be the image that you would put right next to your image 1. All right, so let's go back to any questions about that before I go forward. If you have any issues, let me know. I'll post a good resource for you guys if you're having issues, just to go through the steps there for downloading presets to announcements. So you guys can at least have that if you have issues importing it, downloading it and importing it. Okay? Because I went kind of quickly with that. All right, so I'm going to take a 5-minute break and rest my voice a little bit. And we'll go on, we just did 1 and 2. And then when we come back, we'll do this part, which is number 3. And we'll go from there. Sound good? 5 minutes? All right, meet you guys back here in 5. Okay, can you guys hear me? All right, so I'm going to go through this last step and then see if you guys have any questions, and I'm probably going to wrap it up because I'm not feeling very good. I'm trying to get through this, so I appreciate you guys. Yeah, it's like, this is like torture sometimes. Anyway, it's such as life. All right, so let's take a look at, make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. Okay, so image 3, and I think this one will be a little bit more, well, actually they're all pretty easy. But this one we kind of went over a little bit yesterday with the tools that are listed here. So basically you're gonna, for image number 3, you're gonna do a photo touch-up. And with that, you're going to, in the image folder, you will find an image named touchup.jpg. Using Photoshop, you will need to do a quick beauty touch-up on the photograph. You may only use 3 tools on this touch-up, so choose the tools that you feel will make the most impact. Crop tool, image adjustment. We just looked at image adjustment. We just looked at image adjustment exposure yesterday. Image adjustment black and white, we'll take a look at that. We looked at curves yesterday. We looked at the clone stamp tool yesterday, the spot healing brush tool we looked at yesterday. And then of course the magic wand tool and the magnetic lasso tool. Magnetic lasso tool is pretty much like the magic wand tool and a pen tool. It's just another way of selecting part of the image. And then you're gonna name it as image 3.psd, so it'll be a Photoshop native file. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up Photoshop and go and kind of show you what you can do with this. So I'm gonna delete this and delete that. And we're gonna open up in that folder touchup.jpg. Okay, so you guys see that. Let's go to layers. Excuse me, guys. I feel terrible that I feel terrible. Unlock the layer here. Okay, so you can see by looking at this photo, there's a couple of things that you may want to notice. And this is, I always tell my students when I'm teaching Photoshop, if you're trying to get the photo just right, color-wise, you know, look at the highlighted section. Go ahead and take the eyedropper tool, sample like the highlighted areas. What does it look like? Double click on that. Is it more red? This one looks like a little bit, this actually looks pretty neutral, but so it looks pretty good as far as the whites go. And then sample in the darks. You know, this one is pretty good as well. The only thing I could see is maybe her face is a little bit on the red side, and then also we can, you know, touch up her face since it does look like a professional portrait. So for your tools, you know, you could go ahead and do like we talked about yesterday. You can do them. Let's see here. What are we doing? Oh, the spot healing brush tool or the healing brush tool, depending on what you want to do, and get rid of any type of, you know, blemishes or anything that would stand out that you don't want to stand out. And zoom in on your work. I think I have the content aware. There we go. Zoom in on your work and go ahead and take care of anything, even like lines, fine lines and wrinkles, the pores. I think I showed you how to kind of make the face look smoother yesterday. Whoops. So go ahead and use any tool that you think that would work best for this particular image. Once you're done with that, you're going to use at least 2 tools. I think it says here. Let's see. Use 3 tools. So there's 3 tools. Okay, so I'm using the spot healing brush tool. Just kind of working my way around here. No, that's funny. Yeah, that would be good. You need to clean your screen. Make sure you're seeing it right. I just cleaned mine yesterday. Mine was a mess. It's like one of those things you don't think about, and so you're like, it's really bad. Then you're like, wait a second, this is really bad. All right, I'm not going to do, you kind of get the drift with that. It is so true. You can do image adjustments for brightness and contrast, exposure, and black and white. So what, at this point, what I can do is go up to image, layer adjustment, brightness and contrast. You can kind of play around with that if that's something that you want to do. If not, you don't have to, just play around with it. You want it to be brighter. If you don't like that, trash it. I think just playing around with them and experimenting with everything is good, because then you get to know like what looks good and what you'd rather use. Exposure, if it's kind of adjust this based on what you see here, the stops. Oops, that's something weird here. So I'm setting like the whitest white, and yeah, it probably doesn't look very good. It's very contrasted. We get too crazy there. So you have that, the exposure. You also have, oh, the black and white. I don't think we talked about that yesterday. So new adjustment layer, black and white. This is a way that you can control, instead of going desaturate from the saturation mode, you can do this so that all the tonal values are being affected instead of just desaturating the photo altogether. So it's going to give you greater detail within your image. You have your presets here as well. So if you wanted to kind of add like a filter, now it's black and white, so you're not seeing the tonal effect, the hues per se. You're just seeing the tonal effects that are being done to it. So you can also choose auto, that kind of sets it to, kind of like an auto fix for the highlights, lowlights, and neutral colors. All right, the other thing is the curves. Let's undo this so you can go back. Oops. So layer adjustment, curves, and again, this on the right-hand side, upper right-hand corner is your lighter colors, your highlights. The lower left-hand corner are your darker colors. So you can actually click in here and affect, what's weird about this is you can actually affect, excuse me, different parts of the image based on like, where you want it lighter. So if you have the top half that's dark and you want it to be lighter, you can actually select just the top half and kind of manipulate it based on what you see here. There's also an auto setting. There's presets here as well. You can do like strong contrast, negative, kind of weird. Okay, so that's curves. Clone stamp tool. We talked about that yesterday as well. And this, you actually have to sample. Okay, so this is really good for, say, maybe this eye area here, where it's kind of like the skin is a little bit more wrinkly. So we can actually take the clone stamp tool and make it a little bit smaller here, the brush size. Make sure it has like a less harder of an edge, so you have that fuzziness going on. You can dial the opacity down a little bit. And what you'll do is hold the Alt Option key to kind of select maybe a more smoother section close by. And it has to be pretty similar to where you're selecting so that it doesn't look too far off. But I'm just sampling each time and clicking. So I'm kind of getting rid of some of the lines here in a natural way. So I'm doing an Alt click. This is getting a little. I just want to make sure it doesn't look like you actually did this. Get rid of some of the lines here. So I'm holding Alt click right next to sampling that area and making it look less. I guess the lines, you don't see the lines as much. So when I zoom out, you can kind of see what's going on. It's kind of it's a little bit more of work than, you know, just smoothing it out like I showed you yesterday, but you have a little bit more control. So I'm gonna hold down Alt Option, and I'm just right by that selection. So it's not looking so out of place, but I'm smoothing out that area at the same time. You can also get rid of, say, this line of hair. Just get your brush size just a little bit smaller and sample right next to it. I would say put your headphones in at this point. Zoom in here. Just because this could be kind of tedious, but definitely well worth it if you're getting all that stuff out of there. Making it look better. Zooming in is key to getting those details, fixing them. So you're paying attention to the details, I should say. All right, so let's zoom back out so you can kind of see that hairline kind of goes away. The lines under her eyes look a little bit more smoothed out. You can also do, copy this same layer and do what I did yesterday on the layer on the top. You can do a blur, like a Gaussian blur, throw a mask on it, take your paintbrush tool, and just kind of go over some of the more, let me take the opacity down a little bit, the details, so it doesn't look like it's blurred in certain areas. Just the skin tone would be blurred so that it's smoothed out. So just painting over the details of her face and her hair. I don't quite want to be affected, but her skin tone would be. So here, I'll show you an example. This is before and this is after. So you can see there's a slight improvement with the skin not being as rough looking. You can dial the opacity down so it's a little bit more natural looking. You don't want it to be too crazy smooth, but it definitely looks better. It's a little bit more enhanced. Smoother, I should say. Yep. All right. I'll probably do her neck too. I didn't get to that. Spot healing brush tool, we talked about that. Magic wand and magnetic lasso tool. Let me just show you real quick with that. So your magic wand tool is here. We talked about that just recently with your composite image, so you know how to use that. The magnetic lasso tool is almost like the pen tool. It's actually in your selection tools, but it's called magnet because anywhere you click with this, once you do that selection, that click selection, and then you let go of that click and you kind of follow your cursor down around the object that you're trying to select, it's going to make a selection of your image here. So it's actually, and you can delete if you kind of screw up like I did. Hit the delete tool as long as your cursor's behind that bounding box. You can hit the delete key to kind of start over. Kind of trace around her head here, closest as you can get. I'm going to hit inverse and just delete, and you can do like a, oh, she has some mask on her. You can see that I actually did this on the mask and I shouldn't have. Hold on. Hit delete. There we go. So you can add a different background in here if you wanted to. If there's like an office setting, that you want to put in there. Let me see if I can find one. So you can actually composite this image together if you wanted. Medical office. I'm just you guys can't see what I'm doing. I'm actually on pixabay.com and I'm just looking up the medical office like images, and see if I can find anything I could throw in the background there, just to show you guys how you can composite this. Looks like, oh, here's, that's probably not good. This one has a plant in it. I'm not sure how good this will be. Let me download this one just to, so we're moving along here. So I'm downloading a lower res image just so I don't have to sign up for the email and everything. Okay, on pixabay.com. All right, now I'm going to go File, Place, Embedded. This one has an aloe plant in it. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll see. Make it a little bit bigger. And then place it in the background. I don't see that aloe plant in there, so let's see if I can make this bigger. Now I would have to fix like around her hair and everything, but just to show you, you know, how you can change the background information and kind of make it work for that. And then you can go back and, you know, do the details of the hair like I showed you before. That's the thing. That's, if you have anything organic, you know, either trees or hair, you know, you're dealing with the details here. I have two images. I'd have to do this too. But any questions about that? I'm not zooming in, so I'm not getting a lot of the detail here. Get this out of here. No? Okay. You can kind of see it's coming together now. All right. So play around with this, at least 3 different tools for that. And when you're done, you're going to save this as image3.psd. So Photoshop. I'm going to on the desktop here. So what you're going to do once you have those 3 images, let me share my desktop. Sorry, my desktop is a mess right now because I threw all my images on there. Oops. So the 3 images that we just did that you need to include are image 1, image 2, and image 3. And then once you're done with that, we're not quite done yet. There's still part of this assessment that you still need to do. So let's go back to the Canvas details here. So after you kind of do that, in a separate document, still have more stuff to do. You give a brief description for each image. For image 1, explain which images you used and what tools you used for the composite. For image 2, explain what preset you used and why. And finally, for image 3, list the 3 tools you used and why you chose to make those adjustments to the image. When you're done, put all 3 images and text file in a folder and compress the folder for submission. What you're going to do is you're going to name it this. So assessment 2. Yep. You're going to compress it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now for yours, you're going to have a text file or a Word file. So you'll have 4. I only have 3 here. Select all 4 and choose, if you're on a Mac, Control-click, or go up to File, Compress. 3 items. And then this is what you'll be uploading. You'll just rename it. And then you'll upload this folder. The zipped folder. You don't want it to be PDF. You can make the text file PDF if you want. Yes. Just the images need to be saved out as what they're told here. So 2 JPEGs and a PSD file. Your text file can be a PDF if you want it to be. Or a Word file, doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. Does that make sense? Does that, did I clarify a lot of things for you guys? All right, awesome. Awesome, yay. I'm glad. It does seem like a lot of work, but once you're in it, I think it'll go fairly quickly. And I think you guys will have a lot of fun with this just because you're manipulating images, you're compositing, and that's always fun to do, you know? So I think you guys will really enjoy this assessment. Okay, so that's pretty much, I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm not feeling good, you guys. I am done. But before I leave, if you want to show anything, need extra feedback, help, questions, concerns, now's your time. You need to watch yesterday's lecture. Yeah, Lily, we went over some really cool stuff there too. Great information. I did not actually, but that's a great idea to do for next week. So I can do that for next week. Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I think this week will be more interesting too because you guys are really doing your own thing. You know, you're compositing your images, you're taking portrait shots. So I think this will be a little bit more customary to actually enjoy seeing what other people have done for this week. So, okay, awesome. Yeah. As long as I have your permission, I'm good to go. All right, so no other questions. We're all good to go. If you end up, you know, getting stuck or need anything, I'm always here. So even though I'm sick, I'm here for you guys. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm hoping it won't last very long. Thank you so much, Lily and Marla. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for meeting with me today. And I'll see you guys on the boards. All right, bye guys.